Hello again, it's Garson, and this is going to be a quick guide for the new Shadow Magic, the new Sorcerer subclass in patch 8. You can summon a Shadow Dog to help you out. You just so happen to be a sorcerer who can now summon the new Shadow Blade for your main weapon, and you can create a defensive zone and even use it offensively on targets unsuspecting of the new Booming Blade Shadow Blade destruction. Kaboom! And you can even quicken magic real quick. We can quicken magic, get a whole nother bursty bonus attack. So like I said, this is going to be a quick guide for the new Shadow Sorcerer, and you might be surprised how we're going to play it, alright? So I'm going to bust out the notes, and we're going to get right into it. I'm going to show you how to play Shadow Magic, the new Sorcerer. And if you like channeling magic with the darkness itself, using dark magic to aid you, and if you also like dogs, this is going to be the subclass for you. So big thank you to everybody. I'm going to dive right into it, but thank you so much for your support. This is Shadow Magic. You can cut around if you need to just pick up what you need, but there's going to be pretty comprehensive and a lot of talking, okay? Quick guides, by the way. I'm not trying to show you the strongest build. I'm not trying to make a fancy multi-class. I'm just trying to show you what the new subclass is all about on its own, no other requirements, and do its thing, do it really well, okay? There's breakdown videos with more explanation, including builds and multi-class. I'll link them in the description. Let's get into it, have fun. The timer is on. Here we go. I played all the new subclasses in the so-called beta test, stress test, and I beat them in honor mode, just playing pure 12 levels, and here's what I came up with. I think you're gonna like it. But what is a Shadow Magic Sorcerer? It's a sorcerer that channels literally the darkness to make offensive and defensive benefits, right? So what does it do? Well, in my opinion, the best thing you do, even early on, is create a darkness area, and you can actually see in it and blind others. It's a very defensive ability, but with your abilities, you can actually see in it and use it for offensive countermeasures, all right? Summon a Shadow Companion, that's right. You can actually make a Shadow Dog, so let's take out the Hound of Ill Omen. He has some pretty interesting properties, but I made a whole video about him because he really deserves that. He's a good boy, and I'll link that later. But now, at higher levels, you can actually teleport to the shadows as if it was a free Misty Step, okay? So, let's dive into what I think was really going to give you the most bang for your buck. Let's see. So, your first off, oh boy, here we go. So, you want to focus on Dex, Charisma, and Constitution. Dexterity on a Shadow Sorcerer? What are you talking about? So with the new Shadow Blade, go ahead, you can actually summon this and make it stronger with Upcast. This is a Dexterity weapon if you go Dexterity, okay? This is going to be amazing and very thematic and probably the strongest weapon in the game, and Shadow Sorcerers can use it too, right? Booming Blade is also a very strong cantrip, which you can use in conjunction and really spit out a lot of damage, even with a single attack per turn. And so both of these are actually going to go off of your dexterity. Booming Blade is just like a normal attack, uses your strength or dex, whatever's higher, not your charisma. So it's your accuracy. You get a damage bonus with dexterity on melee finesse weapons. You have armor class, since we're going to be using potent robes and some cloth gear. You have a full dexterity bonus to your armor class. You have initiative bonus, so if you're going first, you can set down the darkness and save you and your teammates, create a defensive zone. And finally, you can keep yourself safe from fireballs and lightning bolts with your dexterity saving throw. Now, Constitution is also really important. If we're going to be a squishy melee mage, we want Constitution for HP, but really it's more important to concentrate on the darkness. So we have this defensive zone protecting us from projectiles and such, and you actually start with proficiency in your saving throws for concentration Constitution, okay? So your first level sorcerer gives you that. Now Charisma is also going to be good for cantrip and spell accuracy. You are a charisma caster, spell save, spell attack, but since we're using the potent robes, I'll show that in a minute, you actually get a bonus to damage on your cantrips like Shocking Grasp. Even Booming Blade gets a benefit from this, which is actually not always the case. So, starting stats, well, if I was going to make a brand new Shadow Sorcerer to play in honor mode again, this is what I would do. So follow along. Gale here is going to obviously take Sorcerer, and the good thing is we take Shadow Magic at level 1. I highly recommend Chromatic Orb for the dog ability and the Mage Armor. Okay, Mage Armor, since we're wearing cloth gear, we won't have a lot of armor class, so that helps out. And so you obviously want Booming Blade, and you actually want a ranged cantrip, and you want elemental cantrips. There's a reason for this I'll go over. In fact, it deserves its own video for the dog. But what about the stats? That's more important. We are going to focus heavily on dexterity and charisma, so we can drop intelligence. Don't really need strength, but let's see what we can squeeze. We definitely want the 16. dexterity. We need the bonus to get to 16 charisma. We have great constitution right there, pretty decent. Okay, so let's put some strength back in because that's pretty much all we could do. And if you want, you can take persuasion, deception, intimidation. That's a nice charisma bonus. There you go. So let's look at the stats one more time. There we have it. So we have 18 on Gale. It's because he has a little bonus there, but it's 16, 14, and 16. So we'll bounce over to Shadowheart, full 12 levels. What did we end up with? So how did we do that? So we have our feats. We only get 3 if we go all 12 levels in Sorcerer. So I recommend buffing up your dexterity so it reaches 20. And Savage Attacker is immensely good for both Booming Blade and the Shadow Blade. It basically gives you better odds when rolling damage. Okay, so I would take them in this order, but you can actually mix them around based on your playthrough. So what about equipment? So pay attention, this is actually very important. The spell Shadow Blade is your best weapon. It's very thematic, but also one of the best weapons in the game now. And level 3 is when it upcasts to a higher version, and level 5 spell slots upcast it to a stronger version, and it is a permanent weapon every long rest period, so you don't have to worry about concentration and whatnot. And it's very, very powerful. You can even double the psychic damage that it deals out. Now, if you have the right race combo, you can actually use a shield or use a light weapon without the dual wielder feat. So if you wanted to use an offhand dagger or a special weapon there, you could, but a half elf like Shadowheart can actually use a shield as a sorcerer. So I recommend that for higher armor class. Potent robes. Potent Robes gives you charisma damage, so whatever this charisma spell modifier is right here, it'll actually add damage to Booming Blade and our other cantrips, so I highly recommend that. And since you're using robes, you can use Mage Armor, okay? Boost up your armor class. Bracer's Defense you get really early in the game in the Blighted Village in Act 1, and these, since you're not wearing any armor, if you're not going with the shield route, I highly recommend the Bracer's Defense. See, I still have the same armor as if I was wearing a shield. Otherwise, you can find a variety of gloves that could help you out. Even the Dex gloves could modify this build. So the Night Walkers, if you're concentrating on darkness, you really don't want to slip on ice and go prone, or else you instantly lose that concentration, and then your defensive cloud is gone. Arcane Synergy, you are going to be using this ring because you are going to be using Booming Blade and be getting more benefit out of your charisma to your melee weapon damage. So not only is the Potent Robes going to add 4, but so is this thing going to add 4 to your melee damage. So Shadow Cloak Ring is going to give you a nice 1d4 bonus for anybody you're attacking inside this cloud, or if they're in the shadows, like you can see over here, the shadowy area. All right, and then Broodmother Amulet. To be honest, I'm not doing this so much for damage. I'm actually giving you the advice to take this because it helps whenever your dog gets omens. You could get free sorcery points, but again, it deserves its whole video, so I recommend it for bonus damage and the dog. Awareness. Well, so Awareness Bow, not shown here, gives you 1 initiative, but later on, I would recommend the Deadshot. So the benefit of taking a dexterity build is we actually can use ranged weapons, so that's pretty cool. So take the Deadshot, you'll pretty much always hit with high dexterity and high proficiency. And then finally for elixirs, until you get until you find some other source of it, you might want to do the Elixir of Peerless Focus. This gives you advantage on concentration, so if you somehow did take damage in your darkness cloud, you won't lose it, which is very important. It's like your bread and butter. Otherwise, you could take Bloodlust. Bloodlust is going to give you a whole nother action, even in honor mode, to go ahead and slaughter people after you killed somebody else. Alright, moving on to spells. Real quick, it's pretty simple. You just want Booming Blade, absolutely, especially if we're going to play the way I'm recommending here. So you can be a melee sorcerer, all thanks to the powerful Shadow Blade and the powerful Booming Blade. Booming Blade does get some thunder damage at level 5, and it bumps up to 2d8 at level 11. So otherwise, you want elemental cantrips. All your cantrips are going to get a nice bonus to damage thanks to the Potent Robes, and they're going to activate some better damage for your melee attack, so that's awesome. Also, the elemental properties play into the dog. And then finally for spells, the first and foremost spell you should care about is Shadow Blade and upcasting it, like I said, levels 3 and levels 5. And then we want to use darkness, obviously, but you're given this, you're given literally the normal darkness. And we're going to talk about this for just a second at the end, but for now, you always want to use the Eyes of the Darkness version, because this is the one that lets you see. We'll keep it simple for now. So Eyes of the Dark and darkness itself is given, but this is the one you want to use right here. Okay, so Mage Armor is excellent. If you're going to do what I did, use the Potent Robes, use no armor, no cloth gear, just cloth gear, you definitely want Mage Armor. Misty Step until you get that Shadow Step. Misty Step's a pretty good use of your level 2 spells, moving around. Chromatic Orb, this is going to help out when the dog gets an omen. You can choose any element you want using this option right here, and you can apply it to the element that the dog bites into, and you can get a free sorcery point. Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave's excellent early game usage, but I don't have it here. It's just good for pushing. Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt is a very strong spell, so if you do want to cast some magic, you should definitely have this in your arsenal. Fireball for the same reason. Chain Lightning, once you get up to those crazy level 5 spells, you can have Chain Lightning. And finally, some area spells. Especially recommend the Cloud of Daggers. It's an awesome, underrated spell. All right, let's go. So how did I actually play this? Did you really play a melee caster, a pure sorcerer? Yeah. Thanks to Shadow Blade and Booming Blade, this is actually really strong. I played this, and that's why I want to recommend it for a really unique Shadow Sorcerer that I don't think you would have realized you could do. But it was plenty strong, and that's what really matters here. And it was really thematic, so all those Dirge fans, you might want to pay attention. This might be your new favorite Dirge. So Act 1, levels 1 and 2, just play back. Be a normal like caster, play it safe, you're squishy, right? Mage Armor up, you're probably already starting with, you know, cloth gear anyway, so use Mage Armor. Keep yourself safe. By the way, find those braces of defense if you're not using a shield. It's going to be really helpful. Look how tanky you are, even without any shields on. But otherwise, level 3 is when you get your bread and butter combo. You're going to use the Shadow Blade, summon it, right? For now, you can only summon, it's still really powerful, but you can summon the Shadow Blade on a level 2 slot. And then you can also use the Eyes of the Dark, but Eyes of the Dark uses sorcery points. So what you'll do is actually convert your base level 1 spells or even higher level spell slots into sorcery points, or since you were going to use a level 2 slot anyway, just convert your level 2 slots to 2 sorcery points and cast it, because with this version you can actually see in the darkness while your foes cannot see inside the darkness, and you can attack from afar with advantage. So that's definitely how you want to play, and you'll be using that for the rest of the game. And once you have that Shadow Blade, you have the advantage on your targets. See, whenever they're obscured, they have higher, you have advantage. Okay. So convert those, we got ahead of ourselves. Yeah, convert those spell slots into sorcery points. Use the Eyes version of the Darkness spell so you can see in it. And Cloud Zone is where you set up your slaughter zone and kill your enemies. Use Quicken strategically for a bonus to Booming Blade. What I mean by that is you can use the Quick magic by level 3. So you can actually use Booming Blade and melee attack with your Psy Blade here. For just 3 more sorcery points, if you're willing to use it, use bonus action. So use this sparingly, but for a real good burst early on in the game. Now in Act 2, we can actually upcast Shadow Blade to its 3rd level, the 3rd level slot, for another 1d8 damage, which is a lot, to be honest. Amulet or Elixir to restore the level slot. Might as well throw this out there really quickly. There are amulets like the Spellcrux amulet that will allow you to get your spell slot back, or you could even use an Elixir of Arcane Cultivation. That way you're not using any of your spell slots for the Shadow Blade itself, but you do have to remake it every day. So more Darkness, more Shadow Blade, more Booming Blade, and you even get the dog at level 6. So the dog, again, I'm going to make a whole video about this and link it to you. There's a lot to talk about, but now you have your dog. Keep him in your kill zone. You and your buddy is essentially a free extra attack with your dog, and he might even get the omen off. But if the dog gives the omen, use an elemental cantrip. There's more to say about omen, but essentially if you use the right element when he applies an omen on somebody, you could get a whole extra sorcery point and get that refund for using your dog. And the good thing is he's permanent, so if you never lose him, you always get more and more value having him out there and attacking. So use Quicken for more bonus attacks. You should have more sorcery points to spare now, but you can also use Haste as an option and become almost like a pseudo full-on martial with 2 attacks. Now Act 3, we can once again upcast Shadow Blade to its final level, which is what I have. This is a 4d8 weapon, very powerful. And of course, use that recovery to get your slot back. Just more of the same. Darkness, Booming Blade, Shadow Blade. You're going to love it. Just keep hitting. And now hitting equals more spell. That was a different one. Whoops. But yeah, Doggo does not scale with you. So I got to be honest. Using the dog without full-on focusing the team on him is a little dangerous. Just keep him in your kill zone. Let him have an extra attack because he does not scale after level 6. He doesn't get any stronger. But yeah, run out of the darkness, use an attack, and shadow step back into your darkness. To demonstrate this really quickly, I'll set up a darkness over here. I'll keep the pupper inside here. Anybody goes into the darkness zone, they're in trouble. The dog's going to get them. But I can now run outside, attack somebody, right? And once I'm done attacking them, I can freely teleport back to obscured areas like the Shadow Cloud, okay? So you can use that defensive or offensive combo to actually get out of your kill zone, go for an attack, and safely teleport away at level 11. So you can pop off really high powerful spells like Lightning Bolt, whatnot, because you have a lot more spell slots to play with. Or you can break down higher level spell slots like this, use a level 4 spell slot. And now you have a lot more sorcery points to play around with and a lot more Eyes of Darkness. This is far more efficient than using Darkness, because even if you upcast and use a higher level spell slot, you're wasting that much more darknesses you could have been casting if you would have turned them into sorcery points. But we'll talk about that. So I would not focus on casting if you haven't played a full caster ever, although it's not too hard with Sorcerer. But I would say with this setup, it's a lot of fun being a melee caster, but just focus on doing what you do well. Cast the darkness spell, make a kill zone, and kill him with Booming Blade, Shadow Blade. So I made it just to cast Eyes in Dark and Murder, just super simple and straight to the point, and you'll feel like a shadow magic sorcerer. The doggo really needs more attention and team composition from what I found out playing with it, so I'd rather just tell you, use it more as a fun little bonus, thematic, and keep it safe inside the cloud in Act 3, and have fun with the splinter shenanigans. Once you're playing, you'll know what I mean by that. Multiclassing and leveling, just look for the stars for real multiclassing breakpoints. Level 1, you get the Constitution proficiency if you start your first level of your character with a sorcerer. You get a mage armor for benefits, Booming Blade, super dark vision, and you even get Strength of the Grave, which I didn't really talk about, but it's hiding in here, is called Strength of the Grave. If you ever go down to 0 hit points, you'll be revived for 1 hit point, and you can do this once per long rest period. This actually saved me against a dragon enemy in Act 3. It's kind of crazy. So Strength of the Grave, shout out to Strength of the Grave. Please don't underestimate this. This is actually awesome. But I wouldn't multi-class here yet. Level 2, you get your meta magics like Twin Magic and Distant Magic. Keep in mind, Booming Blade does not work with either of these, but it does work with Quicken, so you can use your bonus action. All right. But that's where we come in with level 3 is an excellent time to multi-class. Maybe you like this melee shadow sorcerer idea, but you want to be a little bit of a fighter or paladin. Now's the time to do it, because you can actually technically get 2 attacks with Quicken Magic. You already have your bread and butter. You're pretty safe in the darkness, and now you can divest the rest of those levels into more of a martial fighter proper. So level 2 slots, the Shadow Blade, Eyes of the Dark, Quicken Magic, all of this comes online and much more. So maybe you want to splinter off here. But if you keep going, at level 4 you get your first feat. At level 5, maybe you want to multi-class here, because you do get level 3 spell slots. You do get an upgraded Shadow Blade because of that. And you can actually use Haste as a spell, which could be really fun on a multi-class. But level 6 seems like a better one, because now you get the dog. So you really have all the key elements of what the shadow magic brings to the table, plus you got a dog. I mean, that's fun. So now you have 6 more levels that you can easily spend in some multi-classing. And then level 7, just keep going. Now you have level 4 spell slots. Nothing really highlights here for shadow magic. Then level 8, there's a second feat. Level 9, you might want to multi-class here, because now you have powerful level 5 spell slots, upcasting. You can upcast the Shadow Blade to its ultimate form. So maybe with 3 levels left, you could do something really fun with this. Level 10, you have meta magic. You can choose maybe the heightened magic meta magic, or ones you don't commonly use now. Level 11, you might want to multi-class here, because now you have every shadow magic thing. Like I said, this is when you get the free teleport of shadow magic. And there we go. And then you do have that 1 level 6 spell slot, so you can cast something powerful like Chain Lightning. So level 12, you get your 3rd feat, and you are a pure shadow magic sorcerer like I am. So any kind of tech or info I can share with you really quickly, just so you know, any kind of cool stuff we figured out. So what I found out is Eyes of the Dark, like I said, it gives you superior dark vision. So in the Underdark, you don't ever have to worry about being blinded or having disadvantage. You not only have dark vision on your racial, but you have Eyes of the Dark superior dark vision at level 1. Oh, also you should really use the Darkness Eyes of the Dark version, because this is the one that lets you see inside of it as if you had Devil Sight from Warlocks, okay? So convert your sorcery points or your spell slots over to sorcery points. You'll get much more mileage when you're casting your Darkness that way. Far more efficient. So Darkness blocks out most projectiles. There's actually a really good instance of this is in Act 1 against the Spider Queen. That pesky legendary cocoon, it will actually be blocked by this. But Don't try to throw like speed pots or healing pots. I found that this wastes it. It literally just disappears for some reason. Maybe you can prove me wrong, but I hate when this happens. I also hate when enemies throw stuff inside my cloud, even though they can't see me. I can technically not do the same, so just watch out for that. It's really annoying, especially in honor mode. But it does blind enemies. The best thing about darkness is it blinds enemies, and blind enemies gives you advantage, but you can also blind your allies. Doesn't mean they can't run in there to be safe. Just realize you're going to have disadvantage on your allies who can't see in it. So concentration, what's so important about that? Well, the higher the constitution, the better bonuses you have to concentration. You really want to be able to concentrate, so grab some bonuses if you can. Just starting out as a sorcerer is a bonus itself. Don't get hit. That's the best way to not take concentration loss. Also, when you're in the darkness, you more than likely won't be hit. Do not fall prone. That's why I recommended the Night Walkers, so you won't slip on ice. And then the Shadow Blade. It's an amazing weapon. It's probably the stupidest, most powerful weapon in the game, and that's even without the stupid exploit that used to make it permanent. Now it is permanent. Just use the spell slot. It's crazy. So strength and dex, doesn't matter. Whatever's higher is how it's going to work. That's why I recommend dex. Upcast at level 3 and 5, don't forget it. Advantage when you're in obscured. Even these basic shadows, even the shadow over here from this wagon gives you advantage. Shadow Blade's insane. And it doesn't just give advantage, it gives advantage to, like, say, Firebolt. That's why I have advantage right now against this lady, but not necessarily this guy. She's in the shadow, he's not. Okay, so Shadow Blade's just crazy. The Resonance Stone, if you know about it, doubles up all psychic damage. You cannot throw away or give the Shadow Blade to anybody else unless you use an exploit, obviously. All right, so the doggo, I'm going to link you a video. There's much to talk about with that dog. Trust me when I say use it as a bonus for simplicity's sake, but if you really want to make a build with the dog, I'll show you how, or I'll give you some pointers. How do you play and level these up? Why weren't there any like video clips in this? Because older videos actually have a lot more to say and break down, and even playlists showing this off. New subclasses only run number 1. It's Reggie or whatnot. That run I did a full-on Shadow Sorcerer, exactly how I'm talking about here, where I use the Shadow Blade as a melee pure sorcerer. So I think you're going to really like that, or if you don't believe me, go watch it. It was a lot of fun. So Dirge fans, watch out. Come join the live streams and just ask comments and chats. I love answering comments. I got to get to the next quick guide. You guys are my sponsors. I really do appreciate you guys watching and all the support, but until then, go play shadow magic.